So what do 80s bicycles have to do with Mustangs? Well, stick around and we'll tell you all about it. Most everybody I know has some sort of a hobby. I mean, Mustangs were a hobby of mine that many, many years ago turned into a profession, but I still view it as a hobby as well. Other hobbies I have, you know me personally, you know I love going to breweries, I'm a big fan of bourbon, and I like stuff from the 80s and 90s, particularly vintage bicycles. Now this bicycle here is an 85 GT Pro Performer. Basically, I built this to look like the bike I had as a kid. It has the same wheels, the same handlebars, the exact same style and color, and this brings back a lot of memories when I was 12, 13 years old, cruising around the neighborhood on one of these thinking I was gonna be the next freestyler. Now this bike actually tells a cool story. So this is an 87 Pro Freestyle Tour. When this bike came out in 1987, this was like the bike to have, and this was the color I even liked. I remember having a poster of this bike on my wall. And these are hard to find. They're expensive. You just don't see them that often. Well, I always talk about the power of networking. And back in September, October, a friend of mine from Raleigh, North America, who I hadn't seen in 10 years probably, hit me up and said, hey, do you still like the vintage, freestyle bicycles? And I said, well, yeah. I said, I have a bunch at home and yeah, I still collect them. He's like, hey, I have one I've had for a long time. Would you be interested? Sends me a picture of this. And of course, knowing what this was, I had to be honest and say, hey, listen, I'd love to have it, but it's worth a lot more than you think it is. Here's what you can probably get for it. Best of luck selling. Well, he reached back out to me and said, you know what? I'd like you to have it. Is this a fair price? You can have it for this price. And the price was more than I kind of wanted to pay, but it was a deal I couldn't pass up. So on my way to West Virginia to pick this bike up, and he calls me about half an hour from his house. And he's like, hey, would you have time to look at my Fox bodies? Now, this guy's had a Lamborghini. His daily driver is a Hennessy Trackhawk. I didn't even know he had a Fox body, let alone Fox bodies. But he's like, yeah, I actually have two, and I'm thinking of selling them. Do you want to check them out? So I told him I'm kind of in the market for a Fox body for something for the video studio. He pops the garage, and I see this beautiful 91 GT. Now, white-black interior is one of my favorite combos. I've always been a fan of the GT2. I love notches, I love the LXs, but Mustang GT was my first Fox body, so I always have a soft spot for these cars. And this thing is almost all stock. I mean, silencers on it, factory cats, factory exhaust system, factory radio, the whole interior is all original. Literally, it's been lowered on a set of Ford springs, which is like a 1/4 inch drop. Besides that, it is factory, except for the white wheels, which are off of a later model Mustang. But this thing was gorgeous. And again, I told him, it's an automatic, not really what I was looking for, but I told him what I would probably pay for it. But I also told him, like the bike, you could probably get a lot more on the open market. He's like, well, come look at my other Fox body. So we go a block away to his other garage, and he opens the garage door. The first thing I notice is a Ranger Splash, which I always love those. If you've never seen them, they were again made in the early 90s. They were all bright colors with crazy graphics on them. You just don't see them anymore. And then I see this sitting in the corner behind it. Now, if you want to call it ebony and ivory, good versus evil, whatever, the white car was beautiful and clean and stock. This one only got worse as I got closer to it. Now, this car was his baby back in the day, but the car went through a lot and it sat for a long time. It had ignition problems and all kinds of other problems, but this car is rough. I mean, there's not a panel on it that's not dinged or dented, moldings are falling off. This car has led a hard life. But look underneath the skin a little bit, and it's got a 331 stroker in it. It's got AFR heads, it has a ProCharger D1, it's got a Tremec transmission, 31 spline axles, Cobra brakes, and most of all, Stern multi-piece wheels. It's got a killer old school sound system, and it's just a cool car. It's rough around the edges. I mean, compared to the first one, I did not expect this, but it's also a cool car in its own right. So the point of this story is I went to see a guy about a bicycle and ended up buying two Fox bodies while I was there. Now, basically, I didn't plan on buying both. I didn't plan on buying either, to be honest with you. I was more interested in the white car because it was original, it was clean, and that's the kind of car people are looking for these days. But I like modified cars, and this thing's got a personality. This is a cool car. Now, the owner of the car, he wanted to get rid of both of them kind of at the same time. I mean, I talked to him about the market. He didn't want to deal with Marketplace and Craigslist or whatever. He's like, I'd rather sell both cars to one person. He's gonna give you the parts I have or whatever. He's like, I'm out of Mustangs at this point. I just don't want anything to do with them anymore. He's like, so I'll make you a good deal for both cars. And the deal he made me, you know what? I couldn't turn it down. I didn't steal them, but he gave me a fair price. And now I have two Fox body Mustangs. So when I brought the cars home, my initial goal was, okay, this car's got a ton of good stuff on it, that car is bone stock. So I'm gonna take the good stuff off of this. We'll take the brakes, we'll take the sterns, we'll take the motor, the trans, convert that to a stick shift, and basically make that a killer car using all the parts from this car. Now that I got them home, I kind of like this car. I'm used to having nicer, clean cars that I care about. And this one's cool because I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to wash it. And it's fast. It's fun to drive. It screams vintage, and it's just a cool car overall. The white one, as much as I love it, it's a stock AOD Fox body, which isn't something I terribly have interest in. Now, obviously, it's not tough having to choose what you're gonna do with two cool Fox bodies, but again, let me know in the comments, if you had these cars, what would you do with them?